A 12-man Green Beret team is completely surrounded, taking fire from every direction simultaneously. Their interpreter drops dead in the first seconds. Their comm sergeant takes a round to the hip. The helicopters trying to reach them get shot off the landing zone. One man has less than a magazine left. What these operators did next produced over 150 confirmed enemy kills, 10 silver stars, and a quote from one survivor that stopped a Pentagon briefing cold. What you are about to witness are the 5 most devastating Green Beret engagements ever captured on combat footage. October 2007, Kunar Province, Afghanistan. A 9-man ODA 3430 patrol moves along a mountain road carved into a ridgeline so narrow there is nowhere to go but forward or backward. The HIG fighters had studied this road for weeks. They knew exactly where the vehicles had to slow down, where the tree line pressed closest to the asphalt, and where elevation gave a rifleman a clean angle on every seat inside an unarmored truck. They positioned snipers high on the left ridge. They seated RPG teams in the tree line to the right. The geometry was deliberate, an L-shaped ambush designed so that every avenue of escape ran directly through someone's sights. There was no bad position in that kill zone, only target. What happens in the next 90 seconds will determine whether any of these men come home alive. The first RPG round hits the lead vehicle before a single Green Beret can raise a weapon. Then the second, then the third. Within 15 seconds, the road is fire and shrapnel and screaming radio traffic. 2 operators go down in the opening burst, one thrown against the truck door, one face down on the asphalt. SSGT, Marcus Morales, pinned behind the burning lead vehicle, is already on the radio calling immediate suppression before the smoke clears his sightline. His voice is controlled, flat, the kind of calm that only exists when a man has accepted that panic is a death sentence. The HIG fighters have every angle pre-dialed. Morales has 7 men still standing, 2 casualties, and a vehicle on fire inches from his back. He doesn't call for retreat. What he calls next changes everything about how this engagement ends. And it will shock you. Morales calls the assault. Not back down the mountain, up it, straight into the ambush line. 7 men, 2 casualties behind them, a burning truck at their backs, and they charge uphill into pre-sighted positions. The HIG fighters built this trap expecting Americans to break contact and run. They never programmed a frontal assault into their geometry. That miscalculation cost them everything. Within the first 3 minutes, the team punches through the nearest fighting position, then the next. Each cleared position becomes a firing platform for the man behind. 8 confirmed kills become 12, 12 become 20. The count doesn't climb, it accelerates. 12 minutes after Morales gives the order, 40+ HIG fighters are dead and the ambush line has collapsed. That pivot turns a massacre into a rout. The citations arrived after the bodies were counted. Staff Sergeant Marcus Morales' Silver Star citation names him by action, not by valor alone, but by result. Specific positions cleared, specific rounds expended, 2 enemy fighting positions taken by direct assault in the uphill push. His teammates, cited alongside him, account for a combined ammunition expenditure running into the thousands of rounds in under 15 minutes of sustained contact. The medevac closed the record. Wounded Americans were extracted within 22 minutes of the final shot, a timeline the citation preserves exactly, locking the engagement's end as precisely as its opening RPG volley. 43 confirmed kills, 2 silver stars, 1 distinguished service cross, every number sourced, sworn, and signed. That is the Kunar ambush 2007. But 43 confirmed kills only earns number 1 on this list. What happens when a Green Beret team doesn't wait to be ambushed and designs the kill attack themselves? Ramadi, Iraq, March 2006. Al-Qaeda in Iraq owns the streets and they know it. Captain of ODA 555 knows it too. That's exactly what he intends to use against them. The plan is deliberate and cold. His team will walk a patrol route directly through a confirmed IED belt, terrain AQI has spent weeks mining and watching, not by accident, by design. Because every time an American patrol triggers a device in Ramadi, AQI's quick reaction force floods the area within minutes, confident they're moving into chaos. This time, they're moving into a kill sack. ODA 555's captain positioned flanking elements, snipers and M240 gunners, at pre-selected choke points along every likely QRF approach route before a single boot stepped onto that patrol path. The bait was set. The question was whether AQI would take it. The lead vehicle rolls over the pressure plate. The blast throws dirt and smoke 30 feet. AQI spotters on rooftops key their radios. American patrol hit, vehicles down, chaos in the street. Exactly what they've seen before, exactly what they expect. What happens next is not what they expect. The moment the detonation echoes off the Ramadi walls, ODA 555's immediate action drill executes without a single voice command. Security elements lock the perimeter. The casualty count is called in under 15 seconds, and the blast itself is the trigger the flanking elements have been waiting for. Snipers settle into glass. M240 gunners traverse onto pre-ranged choke points. AQI's QRF moves fast, confident they're rushing into confusion. They're rushing into a box with no exit. The only question is how many fighters enter that box, and the ISR feed overhead is about to answer it. High above Ramadi, the ISR platform doesn't blink. The feed is cold, colorless, and merciless. And right now, it shows exactly what ODA 55 designed this operation to produce. AQI's QRF moves in tight clusters through the street network, converging from 3 directions toward what they believe is a crippled American patrol. CENTCOM analysts watching in real time begin counting. 10 fighters, 20, 30. The clusters keep compressing, funneling into the same narrow kill sack, the Green Berets pre-ranged 2 days before the patrol left the wire. When movement stops, analysts have counted 63 distinct fighters on screen before and after the engagement. 63 men who walked into a box ODA 55 built specifically for them. That is the hard metric on tape, and the 11-minute clock hasn't even started yet. The clock starts the moment the first sniper trigger breaks. ODA 555's pre-positioned shooters open simultaneously from elevated flanking positions. AQI fighters in the kill sack have nowhere to redirect. M240 crossfire locks the street exits. Insurgents who run north hit one gun. Those who push south hit another. At the 4-minute mark, remaining fighters compress into a single alley. That is when the hellfire comes down. One strike, the alley disappears. The ISR timestamp reads 11 minutes from first shot to last movement on screen. 63 fighters entered the sack. Almost none walked out. Built in 2 days. Executed in 11 minutes. Caught on tape in every frame, but the numbers are only half the story. What happened after the guns went cold made this footage required viewing across every CENTCOM training cell and theater. When the guns went cold over Ramadi, ODA 555's captain didn't wait for congratulations. He filed the battle damage assessment himself. Post-action analysis confirmed 63 fighters entered that kill sack. 60 plus never left it. The ISR footage didn't stay classified long. CENTCOM analysts pulled every frame, time-stamped every movement, and built a training package around what Captain Curtis's team had engineered in 48 hours: deliberate ambush design, bait patrol geometry, pre-positioned crossfires. The case study became mandatory viewing across Special Forces training cells throughout theater. The Bronze Star with Valor came later. The citation was clean, institutional, and quietly devastating in what it confirmed. That is the Ramadi IED bait. 60 confirmed kills, 11 minutes, a blueprint that rewrote how ODAs planned deliberate engagements. But Ramadi was controlled chaos. What comes next was pure survival. 200 fighters, 4 directions, 20 minutes before dawn, and 9 Americans already dead before the counterattack even began. AL4 County, July 13, 2008. COP caller, Wanat, Kunar Province. 200 anti-coalition fighters hit simultaneously from 4 directions, just a wall of RPGs and PKM rounds slamming into the perimeter at once, in the dark, before a single American eye had adjusted. This is Wanat, one of the bloodiest single engagements of the Afghanistan war. Specialist Tyler Stafford was still moving toward his position when the first RPGs detonated. Within 4 minutes, vehicle patrol-based collars communications were degraded. Within 15, the observation post was nearly overrun. In under 30 minutes, 9 Americans were dead and 27 wounded. The attackers had rehearsed this. Interlocking fire lanes were designed to eliminate American positions before daylight gave defenders any advantage. But the Green Beret advisors embedded with the 73rd weren't dead yet, and one of them was already reaching for the radio. The primary JTAC was down, wounded, out of the fight. Staff Sergeant's hands were already on the radio. With the perimeter shrinking and 9 Americans dead, the embedded ODA team sergeant took JTAC duties without hesitation, calling 14 consecutive airstrikes within 300 meters of his own position. 300 meters, 3 football fields, in the dark, with fighters still pressing through the wire. Each call demanded exact coordinates, exact timing, exact confidence. One transposed digit and ordnance lands on Americans. He knew that. He called them anyway. Strike after strike hammered the assault waves rolling the perimeter. 52 of the 76 confirmed enemy kills in the official AAR trace directly to those calls. That is the technical backbone that kept Wanat from becoming a massacre. But while those strikes were landing, one man at the observation post was doing something even more desperate. Alone, nearly overrun, still pulling the trigger. While those airstrikes tore through Wanat's outer waves, OP topside had already become its own private war. The observation post sat exposed, 180 to 230 meters from the tree line. Fighters had nearly overrun it in the opening swarm. Nearly. One Green Beret sniper stayed at his position. He didn't fall back. He didn't wait for relief. He worked the scope. For 90 minutes straight, he engaged every fighter who moved toward that post. Controlled breath, trigger press, next target. The AAR credits him with 19 confirmed kills, more than most platoons produce in an entire deployment, delivered by a single man holding a collapsing line. 19 bodies in the brush said, why? But Wanat was a defensive fight. Americans holding ground they already owned. What happens when a Green Beret ODA spends 90 days building a target, then walks directly into a compound defended by layered security specifically designed to stop them? August 14, 2011, Helmand Province. Signals intelligence had been threading together, a picture piece by piece, phone intercepts, pattern of life surveillance, courier routes mapped across 3 months. What it revealed wasn't a farming compound. It was a Taliban logistics hub, weapons cache, and command relay point operating behind bales of hay and irrigation equipment. And it wasn't lightly defended. 3 distinct security rings, sentries in the tree lines, a trench network dug to funnel attackers into pre-sighted lanes of fire. The Taliban had built a killing ground. ODA 314 had built a target package to match it. That is the network target. But intelligence that looks airtight on paper changes the moment boots hit dirt, and the first 30 seconds inside the wire will cost ODA 3114 2 operators before the assault even reaches the wall. The assault element moves fast, low, using the darkness. Then the ground explodes. 40 meters from the compound wall, a concealed trench line opens up. No warning, just muzzle flash tearing through the night at point-blank range. 2 operators go down in the first 60 seconds, not dead, but bleeding and out of the fight before the breach even starts. The assault stalls. Right there in the open, caught between the trench and the wall, fire coming from both directions. Staff Sergeant Roland Michaud doesn't freeze. He's already moving, pulling the wounded back, reorganizing the element by voice through incoming fire, redirecting suppression onto the trench line to buy enough space to breathe. 30 seconds of chaos, then controlled violence. The trench isn't a setback. It's the moment this engagement becomes something ODA 314 will fight for every inch of for the next 6 hours. The Taliban don't retreat in a straight line. They scatter, splitting into small cells, pushing into the irrigation canals, webbing the Helmand Valley floor, using terrain they've moved weapons through for years. Michaud watches it unfold on the Predator feed in real time. They're trying to dissolve. He doesn't let them. ODA 3114 shifts from assault to hunt. Predator Overwatch tracks each heat signature through the canal network, while Michaud vectors Afghan commandos into blocking positions ahead of the fleeing fighters, cutting off exits before the Taliban reach them. This isn't a pursuit, it's a closing trap. Canal by canal, escape routes seal shut. Taliban fighters round corners and walk directly into commandos already waiting. 87 confirmed kills doesn't happen in one breach, it happens across 6 hours, one block canal at a time. But the footage only tells you what happened. The citation tells you who drove it, and one name carries more of those 87 than anyone else. That citation lands like a gavel. SSG. Roland Michaud's Silver Star doesn't describe a soldier who fought alongside his team. It describes the man who held the team together when the trench line chewed through their assault formation and 2 operators went down in the first 60 seconds. The citation names it precisely: the specific trench, the reorganization under fire, the moment Michaud stepped forward instead of back. 11 of the 87 confirmed kills are credited directly to his fire, his decisions inside a 6-hour fight that could have collapsed in the first 6 minutes. That is the institutional anchor for everything the Predator footage recorded. 87 confirmed kills, 1 ODA, 1 engagement, Helmand's deadliest single-team record locked. But Helmand was contested ground. The valley the Soviets refused to enter for 10 years is a different conversation entirely. April 6, 2008, Nuristan Province, Shok Valley. Soviet commanders spent nearly a decade in Afghanistan and never ordered troops into this terrain. The walls are vertical, the ridgelines stack like teeth. Every approach is a choke point, every choke point is a kill zone. 10 years of Soviet occupation, nothing. 7 years of Operation Enduring Freedom after that, still nothing. No coalition unit had set foot inside. The Hezbi Islami Gulbuddin fighters who controlled it knew that. They built their command infrastructure here precisely because geography made it untouchable. Captain Walton and ODA 3336, 3rd Special Forces Group, 12 men, inserted anyway. Not because the ground was favorable, because the target was there and no one else was going in. But the valley wasn't going to let them land where they planned. The helicopters set down 1,000 feet below the target village. Wrong altitude, wrong position. Every Hig fighter on that ridge saw them the moment the rotors touched rock. 90 seconds. That is all it took. Captain Walton's interpreter drops first, bullet through the chest, dead before he hits the ground. Staff Skeet Dylan Bear takes a round through the hip. 12 men fully exposed on a vertical slope, fire pouring down from 3 directions. No exit route that isn't already watched. The same valley walls that stopped Soviet armies were now working against ODA 3336. Every direction they turned, the geometry killed. Surrounded before a single man had moved 10 feet from the landing zone. That was the disaster they had to fight out of. And the calls Captain Walton made on that radio would turn this ambush into the most violent hour in Green Beret history. Walton keys the radio. One question: is the air too close? Staff stay. David Sanders doesn't hesitate. Bring it anyway. The first bomb hits the ridge above them. Rock and fire cascade down the slope. Walton calls back immediately, not to report, just to confirm Sanders is breathing. The answer comes back flat through the static. Hit them again. That exchange opens the door. 70 danger. Close strikes, one after another. Bombs landing inside the minimum safe distance, shaking the same ground the team is bleeding on. Each call made by men who knew the math and chose to ignore it. The ridge is disintegrating. HIG fighters who controlled every angle of this valley are now dying inside it. But the strikes only by seconds. Someone still has to hold the ground between the wounded and the enemy closing in on foot. That man is Staff SG Seth Howard, and he stays behind alone. The bombs have done everything bombs can do. The wounded are still breathing, but between them and safety, there is maybe 40 meters of open ground, and beyond that, insurgents close enough to hear. SSGT, Seth Howard doesn't wait for an order. He moves to a cover position alone. The rest of the team leapfrogs the casualties down the slope. Howard stays. His rifle works methodically, not panicked, not spraying, controlled. Each shot buys another few seconds for the men carrying broken bodies below him. The insurgents are talking to each other. Howard can hear the words. They don't know exactly where he is yet. He keeps firing. By the time he pulls back, he has less than 1 magazine left. That is what held the door open. But holding the ground was only half the equation. What this 12-man team cost the enemy is locked in 10 silver stars and a body count no Special Forces engagement before or since has ever matched. When the last casualty cleared the slope, the Dodi began building its case in paperwork. 10 Silver Star citations. Each one names a specific operator, a specific act, specific enemy positions taken or fire directed. Stack them together, and they form a single document of destruction that no after-action report from the Afghanistan war has ever eclipsed. The corroborating footage timestamps match the AAR to the minute. 70 danger close strikes, 150 confirmed dead, 12 men. Staff's DT John Walding, leg nearly gone, still calling targets. Sanders calling for more bombs through the smoke. Howard alone on the ridge with a near-empty magazine. The Army cross-referenced every airstrike log, every citation, every frame. The number held. 150. That is the record. 12 Green Berets, 1 Valley, 1 morning, and a body count that has never been touched. If one man with a near-empty magazine holding a valley alone doesn't define what a Green Beret is, nothing will. Drop your answer below. Does Sanders' hit them again, or Howard's last stand hit harder? Like, subscribe, and make the call.